Want to make sure that CEO isn't lying to us on those calls. Welcome to the Hostile Takeover, where we demystify Wall Street in order to make you some money. Our mission isn't get rich quick, it's get rich smart.
Brilliant.
We are here to teach you all the tricks, the tools, and to make Wall Street speak into Main Street speak. My name is Rob. I'm a real estate entrepreneur. I'm a former merger and acquisitions attorney at a top 10 Manhattan law firm, a former business school teacher at one of the top 8 business schools in this country. Most importantly, I am a self-taught investor. I've been trading and navigating these markets for 25 years, and I want to teach you everything that I know. So let's make some money together. Today we are covering fundamental analysis. Don't scroll! This isn't going to be another one of these boring videos with a bunch of ratios and numbers getting spit at you. No, not here on the Takeover. We are here to teach you. We are here to demystify, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to have to go through a few ratios, admittedly, but you're going to get to know that information. You're going to be armed with that knowledge. And you know what we're going to do at the end? At the end, we're going to take it right to the screen. We're going to punch in a bunch of information into one of our favorite AI bots, and we're going to get ourselves a list of stocks to start taking a look at and doing a deep dive into. So don't pay for any subscriptions for research. We're going to teach you how to do it for free. All right.
You can't
Let's
buy what is
see what the
popular
Swedish
and do
investor
well.
has for us today.
I'll soon show you a third option. When investing in a stock market company, there are many things that you want to see. Preferably, the company should be cheap.
Ooh,
it should
cheap
be
isn't
able to pay out
necessarily
lots
good.
of money to you
Cheap
as a
could be a value
shareholder.
trap.
It should be financially stable. It should be growing. It should have experienced and dedicated management. It should have a so-called moat, which keeps competing businesses at bay. It should be in a favorable political situation, etc. Today, many investment research platforms can help you in your hunt for overperformance. And the best
here
one
comes
that
the
I've
ad.
used in recent years is one called Ticker. Ticker.com.
He is already making this way too complex. Fundamental analysis, at its core, is about a filtering mechanism. It's a process of elimination. What do I mean by that? Well, let's keep in mind our goal. Our goal is to make money, right? Our goal is always to make money. That's what we want to do here. Well, we're going to make money by picking stocks.
Oh, yes.
But there's hundreds of thousands of stocks out there in the world, aren't there? How do we know the right ones? That's where fundamental analysis comes in. It takes 100,000 or so stocks out there in the world and gets it down to the 3 or 4 that fit your needs. So now all we need to know is what the criteria is to bring those numbers down. Well, let's start on that. First, geography. Okay, let's say we like the US markets. Perfect. So now we're going to get rid of all the Asian stocks, all the European stocks. We don't want them. We're just looking into good old USA. Next criteria. Sector analysis. Ooh, big fancy Wall Street word. The markets, at least in the US, are divided up into about 11 different sectors. Energy, financial, retail, tech, industrial. You get the idea. And you can see from the chart up here, the entire list of sectors. So let's say right now, for example, interest rates have been starting to creep back up. Well, when interest rates rise, it's kind of hard on the real estate market. So we might not want to invest in the real estate sector right now. So sector analysis is another big part of fundamental analysis. So that's 2 of our criteria already. We've already dumped probably more than 2/3 of the world's stocks. Absolutely perfect. And we haven't even gotten to part 3 yet. We haven't even seen a ratio yet. We haven't seen any numbers yet. You see how easy this can be? You just tell me you like the US and financials and boom! We got it right down to a small level.
I think that nowhere else than in the stock market are people so ignorant about how much they are paying for the things that they are buying. So, what I do when I look for excellent stock market opportunities is that first I ask, how much? You can do this on ticker.com by clicking on the global screener and adding your first
Here we go with
filter.
Ticker again.
I usually start by selecting the countries that my broker
How much
allows
stock
me
he
to
has in
trade in.
Ticker?
I like to use either EV/EBIT or just a classic PE for filtering out companies based on
All
their
right,
price.
here come the
I do not
mathematical
want to pay
functions.
too much.
EBT, TV, PV, EV, whatever. This guy's already starting to confuse everybody. Don't worry about the ratios. Don't worry about the math. Let's keep this simple. I want you to start with an easy proposition. Earnings. How much money a company makes. Profit. Moolah. We like it. The more companies earn money, the greater the stock price. The greater the stock price, the more money that we make, right? Okay. So it stands to reason that a company that's making more money at a cheaper price for the stock is going to be better valued. So that's what the PE ratio tells us. The PE ratio, all it is a fancy Wall Street way of saying, for every dollar of earnings that this company makes, how much money am I paying for that stock? So, the lower the PE ratio, the less expensive the stock. Now, you might be saying, but Rob, how do I know what is a good or a bad PE ratio? Well, I'm going to tell you. In fact, I'm going to show you my cheat sheet right up here. As you can see, anything below 10 is really low. Could be a possible trap.
It's a trap.
Anything between 10 and 20, that's our sweet spot. That's where we start seeing some real value. Anything between 20 and 30, starting to get a little bit expensive, but not that bad yet. Anything above 30, you better have a darn good narrative and a darn good reason to be buying that company. I'm not saying stay away if it's above 30. However, though, you really got to do your homework on those stocks.
Once the most expensive companies have been filtered out, we're left with about 20% of the whole universe.
I'm going to show you how to do all of this
We're
for
one
free.
step closer of finding great
So
opportunities
don't rush and
in
buy
the
this.
market. Profitability. A cheap company is an excellent start, but I think we can do even better.
Oh,
Let's
cheap
go back to
company
the
isn't
other
necessarily an
things we
excellent
talked about
start.
earlier.
We got to talk about value traps,
Bob
buddy.
owns a restaurant that he paid $2 million for. In other words,
Okay, I don't care about Bob's Burgers. I don't care how much a bag of fries costs. I care about making you some money. Let's not worry about the formulas. Let's talk money. What he's getting at is this. When a company has extra cash, when the company is profitable, it can give some of that money back to its shareholders. And we like that because that's another way for us to win at this game.
Oh, wow.
And when they give cash back directly to you, the shareholder, it's called a dividend. Not all companies give dividends. In fact, most tech companies don't or give a very, very low dividend. It's more of the established companies, more of the lower growth companies that will give out more of their cash. But you might ask me, Rob, what constitutes a good dividend? And the answer is it depends. Generally speaking, if the company is a low growth company, I'm going to look for a dividend of between 3% and 5.5%. Anything below 3%, I can probably do better with another investment, right? Anything above 5.5%, there might be a reason why I'm getting paid back so much money. In other words, the company might suck or have some other trap in it. The second way that companies can return cash to their shareholders is through something called a stock buyback. Now, a stock buyback is exactly what it sounds like. The company will literally go into the markets just like you or me and buy back its own stock. You might ask, well, why does that help us? How does that increase value? How does it increase price? Two different ways. The first is supply and demand. By going into the market and buying stocks in that company, it reduces the amount of supply and it also creates an additional layer of demand for the company. That's price increasing. Now, the second way a buyback helps investors is through something called earnings per share. Earnings per share, or EPS, is the metric that Wall Street uses to really determine the value and the hotness of a company. During the quarterly reports, when they say, Apple made $2.65 per share, that's the earnings per share. That's the headline number. So you might ask me, why does that matter for a stock buyback? I want you to think about it for a second. If a company buys back its own stock, that means there's less shares out there in the world. However, if the earnings remain the same, the earnings per share, since there's less share, increases. So even though the amount earned does not increase, by decreasing the amount of shares out there, you push the earnings per share up. And once the earnings per share increases, the company looks better and it's going to trade even better. Price increases. And that's what we want.
Step 3.
Let's talk about growth.
Some investors think that growth is the most critical variable to consider when valuing stock market companies. If one could tell the future,
The whole point
it
of
would
being
be.
in the markets is
The
to try
problem
to
is
tell
that
the future.
Historical growth numbers
To try to
aren't
predict
really
price.
that reliable for the future. faced sluggish
And we're back to
returns
ticker.
ever since. With that said, I'm slightly more
Blazing
favorable
ticker
towards
so
companies
much
that
you
have
should
been
be working
growing
at Krispy
historically
Kreme.
versus those that haven't. So let's at least
I want you to think about it this way. There's 2 job offers out there. Job A will pay you $50,000 a year, and you pretty much can guarantee you're never going to get fired. However, you can also pretty much guarantee that you're never going to get a raise. Job B also pays $50,000 a year. However, though, Job B's been giving raises every year steadily at well above the inflation rate. Woo! Unfortunately, Job B is also known for giving some layoffs too at times. That's the distinction between growth and value. The value stocks are the stocks like Job A. You know how much you're going to make. You're not going to make a lot more than that, but it's steady. It's even. Whereas Job B is your growth stock. It's your companies that there is a potential to make a lot of money in, but there's also potential to lose your ass. And that's a decision that you've got to make on what you're comfortable with. Every investor is different on what he or she can tolerate losing. But the important thing is to understand how all of this works, and then to customize it to your own likes and dislikes. Now, I've made growth pretty simple at this point, but we're going to have to do a ratio here. So I apologize. We're going to do the PEG ratio. So remember our PE, price to earnings? Well, this is PEG, price to earnings and growth ratio, as you can see above here. So without getting too much into the details of it, a PEG ratio at 1 is about your sweet spot. Anything below 1 means you've got some good growth there.
Oh, wow.
Anything above 2 means it's very much slow and steady. Now, this is a ratio that we use along with our PE, along with our other criteria. So it's worth taking a step back right here, right? Remember where we started this. This is a filtering mechanism that we're going through. This is a process of elimination. We've already now eliminated things down to US stocks. We've already knocked out, I think, real estate and financials, I think we said before. We've already talked about a PE. We don't want to go a PE above 20 in this case. We've already talked about dividends and buybacks. Let's say we want to make sure the company has a buyback. Now we're talking about growth. A 1 is a pretty solid peg. So let's say we like a 1 growth. Again, we're filtering. So anything above 1, maybe we're not going to take. That's part of our filter.
find pretty much all public filings of companies. There are transcripts of live presentations.
You
Heck,
can
there's
get
even a list
all
insider
of those
ownership and
easily for
recently
free
made
online. Do not
insider
pay for that.
transactions. Ticker can help serious investors to find opportunities
Again with the ticker.
without depending.
Listen to me. You don't need to spend money on fancy software. Stick with me until the end of this video. I'm going to walk you through an exact stock screening for free. Gratis. Nothing.
Brilliant.
Just as good as what you're going to get off a ticker. Now, he did mention one interesting thing. Insider transactions. An insider transaction is when a director, an officer, or a 10% owner of a company buys or sells any shares. By law in the United States, they have to file what's called a Form 4 with the Securities and Exchange Commission. That form is public information, and that's your lie detector test. What do I mean by that? Well, at the end of every quarter of the year, a CEO is going to get on a call and talk about how great the quarter was, how just amazing the company was, how his leadership just propelled them to the next level, even if it didn't and they sucked. You will never hear a CEO say, we sucked, we screwed the pooch, I was wrong. No. But you will see them file Form 4s dumping their shares, or their coworkers dumping their shares. And that's when you know that something is up. That's when you smell the rat. Now, it doesn't mean don't buy the company, but it warrants a deeper dive. You want to know why they're selling the shares. Could be they're just retiring. Could be they want to buy that Lamborghini. Could be they're getting divorced and they got to pay out a lot of money. Woo! But we want to know why. Because it could also be that the company just sucks.
But be stricter with ROA and revenue growth. Or maybe you want to be even more cautious with companies with weak balance sheets. Then add an additional criteria. Perhaps a debt ratio and or
debt ratios
current
are
asset
good.
ratio.
It took 12 minutes and 2 seconds to get to any discussion about what we call liquidity. Liquidity is just fancy Wall Street jargon for having enough cash to pay your bills. But it's incredibly important, especially for somebody who is a self-proclaimed value investor, meaning he likes the low, slow, and slow stuff. Well, we're not glossing over here at the Takeover. We're going to dig into it, but we're going to keep the math simple, and we're going to help you out. So the debt-equity ratio is the first one we're going to take a look at. That's just a test of danger. Basically, the question that the debt-equity ratio answers is whether or not this company's debt is suffocating the life out of its money. So a higher debt-equity ratio is scary. A lower debt-equity ratio, well, the company's got a lot of extra cash flow for other things. So generally, you're looking for anything below 2 on a debt-equity ratio. Anything above 2, you got to start getting a little bit worse. The next test of whether a company can pay its bills or not is the current ratio. Again, fancy Wall Street speak. All that you're asking with this ratio is whether or not this company's got enough dough to pay its bills in the short term. At 1.5 or higher, you are doing fine and there's not really much to worry about. Anything below 1, I would start getting scared. Between 1 and 1.5, you're doing okay. These are simple concepts. However, it is crucial that you understand this and understand why it's important. If this company doesn't have enough cash to pay its bills, it also doesn't have enough cash to pay you.
The great 8 filters of fundamental analysis.
We made it. We got through our great 8 filters and we survived. You take those 8 factors and you plug them into a screen and you're going to get a list of stocks. Now, you could pay $179 for the year for Ticker to do it. I'm sure it's great software. But you could also just put the screen into either ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, or probably any other AI. And it will do the exact same work for you. And that will save you some money. So, if you don't believe me, we're going to try it together. Ready to go? Let's do it. This is where the magic is going to happen. Now we're going to take everything that we learned today and we are going to put it into a screener and we are going to pick some stocks to make some money. So I am using Google Gemini, but you can use any one of your favorite AI bots. Feel free to use ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, what have you. Any of them are going to be able to do the exact same functions that Ticker's trying to charge you $179 for. We are now ready to do our stock screening. But before we do, let's just recap what we're actually looking at here. We're only looking at U.S. stocks. We're excluding anything in the tech and the financial sector. We're going for some value, so a low PE, under 20. We're also going to see if we can seek some growth within that value. So that's going to be a peg below 1. Any stock that doesn't have a buyback, we don't want it. And we're going to exclude any stocks where the insider has sold within the last 90 days because that could smell trouble. Additionally, the debt-equity ratio has to be below 2, and the current ratio's got to be above 1.5. So we want something with low debt that can pay off its bills. So let's see what we got. All right, wow. All right, looks like some retail. Looks like some industrials. We got Borg Warner there. We got some miners. Not a shock considering where gold is trading at these days.
And now, the not so exciting conclusion.
Let's recap. Fundamental analysis. The art of excluding out garbage stocks and getting us down to a list of something manageable that we can do a real deep dive into. How do we do that? We take our great 8 filters. We look at country. We get out the sectors that we don't want. We determine whether or not we want a value stock. We determine whether or not we want growth. That's our PEG ratio. We want to take a look at whether the company's returning cash, dividend, buybacks. Want to make sure that CEO isn't lying to us on those calls. That's what we're looking for, those insider activities. We want to make sure the company's not drowning in debt. That's our debt equity ratio. We want to make sure that it can pay its bills. That's our current ratio. You take all of those together, you put it into Gemini or your AI chatbot of choice, and it's going to spit out some goodies. What do we do next with it? Stay tuned for our next episode.